What's up folks, I will here, your friendly YouTuber. So today we're going to open those 8 boosters. It's me who cannot count. And we're just going to go with the normal region one instead of the Zendikar. And I don't have any specific reason for that, but it's more into I'll just start with the base set and then we'll see what we get from that. So let's buy 8 boosters. Confirm purchase. Successful! Let's take them one at a time. So open booster. Let's start with the commons. So just Resold, destroy target creature with 3 or less. Get some pluses until end of turn and instant. A defender, so basically a wall. What do we get here? Bounding Crassus? Bounding Crassus? Oh. Flash, that basically means that you can play it at any time. That's just like with an instant. Normally creatures you can only play on your own turn. When it enters the battlefield, you may tap or untap target creature, and it's a 3/3 for a blue and a green. What do we get here? So a creature that gives -2/-2 whenever you cast an enchantment to another creature. So you cast an enchantment, just doesn't matter on if it's on a creature or basically just an enchantment in itself, and then that creature, the Blight caster, gives -2/-2 to another target creature. And it's a may, that's one of the things. You may, that doesn't mean that you have to, so if the opponent doesn't have any creatures, you have to give one of your own -2/-2. And then what do we get here? Twin and Guilt Leaf Dean. Reach, other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever attacks you gain 1 if each attacking elf you control. Okay. But she's legendary, so I can only have 1 of her in play every time, even though if I end up getting 4 of her, that sucks, but that's something for our elf deck. That's nice. So, next booster, let's see. A lot of red cards. First, Renown, that's nice, +1/+1 counters whenever it attacks, or when it hits a player. When it enters the battlefield, you get a colorless Chopper. That's a flying 1/1. And then Rock Maulers, Trample, and also Renown. So we can make a complete green day. Enchantment. Enchant creature gets ++2 and has flying. Sacrifice 2 other creatures, regenerate this creature. Nice. 1. Anchor to the Ether. Put target creature on top of its owner's library, scry 1. And then okay. So this is also an enchantment. If an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead. Okay. I have seen this card before, but I read it wrong. So it's only if your opponent would gain life, they lose life. So basically you can gain as much life as you want to, but the opponent cannot. Okay, that's nice. Let's see what we get in the next one. Oh, Planeswalker, I can already see. Calculated Dismissal. Counter attack spell unless it controls pays 3. That's for 3. 3 colorless. So it doesn't matter what kind of mana he or she uses. She just have to pay 3 extra for it, so it gets more expensive. And then spell mastery, if there are 2 or more instants and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, you can also scry for 2. The scry ability, just like it's written here, is that you look at the top 2 cards. You decide if both of them are going on top. If one of them is going on top, the other one is going to the bottom, or both of them is going to the bottom of your library. That's actually really nice to manipulate your draws to make sure that you don't that you have a less chance to gain some specific cards that you might not need or don't want at the given situation. Force Mage. Whenever Force Mage enters battlefield, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and it's even an elf. Even more for the elf deck. That's nice. Alchemist Vial. Ooh, that looks nice. When Alchemist Vial enters the battlefield, draw a card. Sacrifice. Target creature can't attack or block this turn. Okay. Shadows of the Past. So, it's also an enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, scry 1. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Activate this ability only if there are 4 more creature cards in your graveyard. Ooh. Ooh, that's nice. Whenever a creature dies, you can scry for 1, so it basically can really... As long as creature dies, you can keep on saying, this card I don't want to draw next turn, this card I don't want to draw, and then at some point you will hit, this card I really want to draw. And then whenever there's enough creatures in your own graveyard, you can basically drain life whenever you have enough mana. Because it costs 5. Generally, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. I feel I'm getting a lot of things that I would like to play around with both the elf deck and my enchantment decks. So this is basically just one that you smack down. If you have a lot of cheap creatures, you just pour them down and all your other creatures will just get a lot of pluses. Then there's Nissa, which I can't flip to the other side, unfortunately. Not yet. That we'll take a look on whenever we have opened all the boosters. So right now she's in Legendary Elf Scout, so more to the elf deck, that's nice. When Nissa, Bastard Seers enter the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic forest card, reveal and put it into your hand, shuffle your library. Sorry. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, exile Nissa, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. Then she'll be the actual Planewalkers, but that's first when you have 7 or more lands in play. That's nice. Next booster. Come on. No, I don't want to cooperate. That's one of the bugs in the game, unfortunately. At some point, they don't want to cooperate. So, Claustrophobia, that's an enchantment to a creature. That basically does so that when it enters the game, it taps a creature, and that creature that is enchanted does not untap in its turn. Aspiring Aeronaut, I think it is a flying creature, 1/2. Whenever it comes into play, one of those 1/1 colorless chopters with flying artifacts comes into play as well. Read the Bones is wherein you scry for 2, then you draw 2 cards, and then you lose 2 lives. So it's basically, first of all, you get to manipulate your draw, see, do I want any of these cards? Then afterwards, you draw 2 cards, wherein one or both of them might be the ones that you looked at, or maybe none of them, and then you lose 2 life. Because basically, black is gain life from opponent, then, your opponent loses life, then you gain life, or basically just that you lose life. Then the Blight Cast again with -2/-2 with enchantment. Totem Guide, which is a 2/5, is that you may search your library for an aura, that means enchantment that can be put on a creature. You then have to reveal it and put it into your hand. And then there's Molten Vortex for 1. What is that? That's also an enchantment, I can see. This got a land card. Molten Vortex deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Wow. These kind of cards, I think they're in the real physical cards set, an old card that basically just said that you had to discard a card. You didn't have to pay anything, but just discard a card, deal 2 damage to target creature or player. And there was a lot of decks being made around that. But right here you have to pay for it, so it's not as good. So, Topan Freeblade. It's a vigilant, so it basically means whenever it attacks, it doesn't tap. So you can both attack and block with it as long as it's, funny enough, doesn't die. But have renown, so whenever you hit an opponent with it, it becomes 1 stronger, so it gets a +1/+1 token. Claustrophobia, the rock smaulers, and 1. Something other grid. Now we can actually, woo! Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Cure for their grip deals 1. Okay. So that's basically for the artifact making decks, wherein you can just, at the end of your opponent's turn, before it gets your turn, if you still have artifacts that isn't untapped, you basically just tap them to deal a lot of damage to whatever you would like to. And then there is Hydroclash, -2 power until end of turn to all attacking creatures and draw a card. And then there is the Winnin yet again. So that's actually nice. That just gives me a better chance to draw her in the elf deck. That is awesome. So, read the bones. And now I can't. Yeah, now I can't. Now I can't zoom. That sucks. Elvish Visionary, yet another elf, is that whenever this elf enters play, you draw a card. That's nice. So more elfy elf to my elfy creature deck. And then Sidearm, which is an equipment that gives +1/+1 only, but it only costs 2 instead of 3 with the boots. And then there's Meteorite. Whenever Meteorite enters the battlefield, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And then afterwards it can tap for any kind of mana, but it costs 5 to put into play. So it's kind of expensive for a mana acceleration thing, but it might be okay in the long run. So as an additional cost to cast Fury Conclusion, sacrifice a creature and then you can deal 5 damage to a creature. And then there's Displacement Waves, which is basically when you pay 2 blue and then as much more that you want to, and then everyone have to return all non-land permanents to their hand with converted mana cost X or less. That means if you pay, let's say, 2 blue and then 2 colorless, the 2 whatever mana, then for example Elvish Visionary, which costs 1 green, 1 colorless, that means it have a mana cost of 2. Then that one would have to go up on your hand again. Let's see. So Titan Strength, that's the one that gives pluses for a turn and scry. And then Subterranean Scout, which is a goblin. When Subterranean Scout enters the battlefield, target player with power. I can't read, guys. Sorry. Target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. So, for example, itself. Act of Treason is basically just a spell that says, I take this creature from your side, put it over on my side, untap it if it was tapped, and then I can just attack with it for this turn. Then there's the Meteorite again, and Choptier Engineer. Yeah, so that's also one of the creatures that put it into play. And it gives you one of these 1/1 colorless chapters. But this one actually also gives all your artifact creatures haste. So this one actually gives something to the artifacts that you put into play. And then there's the High Arbiters. I have one of those, as far as I remember. It's wherein you put it into play, then you can look through your opponent's, I think it's only hand or graveyard, or is it? Is it just name? I just have a site here that I can look at, so just give me a second. It's because there's so much text on that one. Now I have it, there we go. So, whenever this creature enters the battlefield, each opponent reveal his or her hand. You choose the name of a non-land card revealed that way. Your opponent can't cast spells with the chosen name. So basically, you see your opponent's hand. That's first of all a really good thing, because then you know what your opponent can do in certain situations and so on, at least at that moment. After that, you choose one of the cards. All of those cards that your opponent draws, even if it's the one in her hand, his or her hand, in the graveyard, or even in the library, that player cannot cast that spell. And that's only as long as this creature is in play. Next booster. Now we have one left. So let's see. Screeching Scab. That is a creature wherein you mill your own library. That means that you put cards from the top into your graveyard. That is milling. Then the Sergeant First Strike. Artifact can't attack alone. So it's basically just you get into play, but you can't attack by yourself. Towergeist, you look at the top 2 cards, you choose one of them to put into your hand, the other one goes into your graveyard, and then it's a 2/2 flying. And then this one, that's also one for my enchantment deck. So it's a creature that is flying, and whenever you play enchantments, it gets a +1/+1 counter on it, so it gets bigger all the time. Then what is this? Peer and Kieran the Law. Noise? Legendary creature. When this creature enters the battlefield, put 2 colorless Chopper's artifacts tokens with flying onto the battlefield. Sacrifice an artifact, and then this creature deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Nice! So let's go to the card collection, because we're going to look at the Nissa just as a last thing. There we go. So, new cards. The Blessed Spirits. Let's see. This enchantment as well. Now I have 2 of him. There you go. 2, yeah. Could actually be fun to play with. One of those, also 2 of those. 3 of those now. I'm actually not playing with this in my enchantment deck, basically just because it costs 5 to get into play. And there's a cheaper kind of version of that one. Let's see if we can find it here. This one. When that one enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. It's not as strong, but it costs less. That's basically why I don't play with the big ones. Ooh, also 2 of those and 2 of those. So in the start, it will usually always be that you draw new cards, you have 1 of them, and it will be that like that for quite some time actually, when you might have 1 or 2. When you get up to 3 and 4, it's really nice. 2 can do. It's kind of okay. It's not good, but it's kind of okay. To all the one-offs, that kind of sucks, or I feel like it really sucks, because then you can make a deck and you have 1 of them, and then maybe at some point you have to use it because of a certain situation, but then you might need it for another time as well, and it's just, you only have 1 to do with. Some decks only uses some card when you only have 1 of them, because you only need them for a certain situation or something like that. Oh, that's Dwyn, that's Elf Visionary. See, so this here basically just gives card draw or card acceleration to a deck, wherein you put this into play, you draw a card, but since you only have 1 of them, it's kind of like, I have only 1 card draw in my whole deck, which gives 1 card. That sucks. There we go. And flip it. There we go. So this is the Planewalker. Planewalker is kind of an ally. It isn't in play, just like with any other enchantment, so on. But when your opponent attacks or casts spells that deals damage, your opponent have to choose if he or she would like to damage you, or if he or she would like to damage your Planewalker. So it's kind of like a small second player, not with a hand to play with and everything, but it's a small extra thing. Wherein reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into the battlefield, otherwise put it into a hand. So that's basically more card draw. That is awesome. Put a legendary 4/4 green elemental creature named Ashaya, the Woken World. Wow. Okay, that sounded wrong for me. That's why I couldn't probably say it. Onto the battlefield. So legendary means that you can only have one at the same card in play at the time. So you cannot put a second one in, then they both go into the graveyard. So -7, up, tap up to 6 target land, they become 6/6 elementals, they're still lands. Wow. But it's basically the top one that gives you card draw. That is sweet. And it's an elf just as a start. Let's see, the big Roxas. And then some new artifacts and yet another elf that I have to put into my elf deck. Be right, that. Yeah, and that's basically it. So yeah. So now you got to see the boosters. You only gain 6 cards at a time instead of the real world when you gain 11 or 15 or something like that. But then again, you don't pay any real money for it except if you really want to. But yeah, now you got to see some boosters getting open. I'm definitely going to play around with some of the cards that you'll probably see in the future. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and there will be more booster opening whenever time comes. But until next time, take care, have fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey there folks, I hope you enjoyed these booster openings, and there will definitely be more of them in the future whenever I save up money. And then from time to time I'll probably bring episodes of either quest completing or basically just gameplay with new decks that I might put together with new boosters and everything. So I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below whatever you think about it. Hit my face or hit that subscribe button to subscribe and see what I'm going to do for the future, and keep tabs on me. I can't speak today as well. But until next time, take care.